Hey everyone. So today we're going to talk about something pretty interesting, spiritual healing. What is it really, and how is it supposed to help us find our way when life gets, well, complicated? We're going to explore one particular framework that claims to help people do just that.
So let's start with a question that honestly most of us have probably asked ourselves at some point. Are you feeling stuck? Maybe you're dealing with some tough emotional stuff, or you just feel like you've hit a wall personally and spiritually. This is the exact starting point for the approach we're looking at today.
So what's the deal with that stuck feeling? Well, according to the source material we're digging into, the main culprit is what's called negative energy or negative influences. Let's take a closer look at what that actually means. Okay, so when we talk about these negative influences, what are we really looking at? You've got things we all know, right? Like emotional difficulties and just that feeling of overwhelming stress. But then you also see things like spiritual hurdles and even persistent bad luck. The idea here is that these aren't just random unfortunate events. They're seen as real symptoms of a deeper problem, something that's knocking your inner peace way off balance.
Okay, so if you're dealing with all this, who do you turn to? The source material we're analyzing is centered around the practice of a spiritual guide and astrologer named Master Kalidas Ji. To really understand what he does, we first need to get a clear idea of what a spiritual healer is, at least in this context.
So what does spiritual healer actually mean here? Well, this definition really puts the focus on getting trustworthy answers to bring things back into balance. So it's kind of a two-part job. First, figuring out what the obstacles are, almost like a diagnosis. And second, helping to clear out those negative influences to get your life back on track.
All right, so we've got the what and the who. But what about the how? How does this whole process of restoring balance actually work? Let's break down the specific steps that are proposed to guide someone toward that feeling of inner peace.
The process is really laid out in three main stages. It kicks off with expert guidance. That's where you get to the bottom of what's really going on. Then comes the core of the practice, you could say, energy healing. This is where the work is done to actively remove those negative influences we talked about. And finally, you get personalized rituals. Think of these as a personal toolkit to help you stay balanced and keep that positive energy flowing long after.
And what's the end goal of all this? Well, it's not just about feeling a little bit better. The goal here is a complete transformation. It's framed as a journey from difficulty all the way to optimism. But what does that shift from before to after actually look like in real life?
This slide does a great job of laying it all out. On one side, you have the before. The negative influences, the constant stress and bad luck, that awful feeling of being stuck. And on the after side, it's a total shift. We're talking about finding harmony and balance. We're talking about feeling a sense of spiritual protection instead of just being hit by stress all the time. And most importantly, that stuck feeling gets replaced with a real, renewed optimism. It's a pretty powerful change.
And this quote really sums up the whole philosophy perfectly. The key idea here is that by restoring your harmony, balance, and inner peace, your mental and emotional well-being naturally improves right along with it. It positions your spiritual health as the foundation for everything else. Get that right, and the rest starts to fall into place.
Now, for anyone out there who might be curious to learn more about this specific practice, our source material also provides all the contact details from Master Kalidas Ji. So let's just quickly run through that information.
First up, there's a website you can check out. It's masterkalidas.com. You can probably find a lot more detail on the services offered there.
If you'd rather send a message, here's the email address for that: masterkalidasastrologer@gmail.com.
And finally, for anyone who wants to call directly, here's the contact number that was provided in the source material as well.
And we'll leave you with this final thought, which really captures the ultimate promise of this whole approach. Succeed in all areas of your life. That's a huge claim, right? It really frames spiritual healing not just as a way to fix problems, but as a key to unlocking success across the board. A really interesting perspective to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.